So this is the Metaltech 4x4 full profile cage kit. Now this is actually not a kit, this is a pre-built, and we're trying to stock these so people can actually order their pre-builts to make it a little bit easier for their installation of their cages. They don't have to build it in their truck. We build these in-house in a custom-made fixture just to make these. So building one of our cage kits, you got to know how to start, where to start. So we're going to automatically assume you already know how to weld, or you have a friend that's welding, you know how to notch tubing. And so one of the first things you're going to do is actually take the mounting plates and bolt them into the tub. Now, the front mounting plates, we'll start with those. The front mounting plates are actually, they say MT on them for Metaltech, and you're going to notice that there's 4 holes in them, and then one area there's no hole. And so if it says MT and there's no hole, that's the left side, if it's in the upper left corner. And then if it says MT and there's no hole in the upper right side, that's the right one. They are left and right. So where to place these in your truck is take the plate, set it on the floor of your truck, slide it to your door sill, inside of your door sill, and then slide it forward until this corner touches the A-pillar of your tub. So it's sitting nestled right up to the inside of the door sill. That is the location for each one of these plates. You just do the same thing on the other side. Once you have that located, go ahead and drill the holes, throw your bolts in, just 3/8 inch bolts. So as far as the rear goes, there's going to be 4 holes that you're going to go ahead and reuse. Those 2 and these 2 back here that are going to automatically locate for you on the truck. Now, if you have a truck that's either from outside the country or it's a 74 on down that never had a roll bar, you won't have those, so you don't know where to put this plate. And so the key thing to remember with this plate is 2 critical things. One, this radius in the back of the plate is designed to fit the inside of the tub rail. That's super important because this cage, when you build it, you're going to look straight down the back and you're going to have almost 2 inches of space from this back of the plate to the back of the tub. And that's super important because the way our A-pillars fit so tight to the truck up front for the dash and the upper part, you need to take the whole cage and slide it back to lift it up to get it out. Second of all, when you put these in, you're going to look straight down off the inside lip of the tub, and you're going to make sure there's a little bit of a gap between the edge of the plate and the inside edge of the tub. And why that's important is that if this plate is underneath the edge of the tub, you will not be able to lift the cage up. It's going to get trapped inside the tub. The key thing with this, why we're doing a full plate system versus just a couple of pads, is that if you do go over and you stress the truck, we want to make sure we're distributing the load over a greater area rather than just 2 little pads in the back. So we have the ability to do that. Next thing to do is go ahead and start placing your pillars. You always start in the middle. We start with the B pillar and we work our way out from there. Now you can place the B pillar and then go ahead and build the back out and then build the front if you want to do that. Me personally, I always set the B pillar and I build the front and then I come in and finish the back. You can do it either way. It's up to you. When you place the B pillar, it comes from us already at the right height. You don't have to trim it. All of our pillars are actually the right height. You don't have to trim them for height. So the B pillar, you're going to go ahead and set it onto the mounting plate. It's going to be between the 2 front mounting bolt holes. And then you're going to use a framing square off the back and make sure this is perfectly square going up and down. And go ahead and tack it in on the truck. Then once you've done that, you can go ahead and if you're going to do the front, take your A-pillar and you're going to find the A-pillar, it has extra material about so much past the B-pillar. And that allows you to adjust for the A-pillar for tilting forward or tilting back. Every 40 is slightly different. We've learned that. There's no such thing as a perfectly straight 40 tub. So we give a lot of adjustability in theirs. And so you're going to take that material and you're going to be very careful and you're going to notch it down so that it becomes a nice fit for where it comes up to the B pillar and where the A pillar is sitting in the tub. And once you get that perfect fit that you want, we like to put it where it's just on the inside of the radius. So the truck, so the B pillar has this radius beginning, we put it just where that radius is starting to happen. So go ahead and set that in there. When you get it to that nice spot, tack it in place on the floor. Make sure you go ahead and tack your A pillar to the mounting plate. But before you do that, make sure you close your factory, whatever doors you're going to run on the truck, to make sure the A pillar is spaced inboard enough to clear the door. Super important if you're running 75 or newer doors, the big thicker doors. If you're running a soft top door, it doesn't matter. You can run the A pillar completely all the way out, spaced outboard as much as you want. But we've got to make sure that the doors close. We don't want to end up where the doors don't close because the A pillar is welded to where it's at. Place your A pillar for the other side, do the exact same thing. Go ahead and start attacking the back. And the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put the C pillar in. And when you set the C pillar in, you can see where it sits on our pre-built here. and you're going to tack the C-pillar in. You're going to put a 45 or a framing square on it again down below, a small framing square. Make sure it's square straight down here at the lower part. Of course, it does taper in at the top. You're going to tack it, but tack it on the sides, perfectly on the sides, so it has like a natural hinge to go forward and back. And that's important because these overhead bars are going to be 2 saddle notches that's going between 2 perfect good planes. And it's very difficult to add bars in if you can't make one pop out a little bit to get that in. So once you have this bar in place, go ahead and measure your overheads for the rear. Add your notch to the rear that you're going to need. Trim them and notch them. Do both sides. Don't just do one side. Do both sides. And get them where they're set to where they're supposed to be. Then go ahead and put a light tack like in the front on both sides, and then bring the C-pillar in place and put a nice tack in that. And that's going to be the rear overheads. So when you're putting the overhead bars in the back, we like to line them up with the bars in the front for the A-pillar. So the rear overhead bars, we put it right in line with the A-pillar. Now, you're going to notice that the cage tapers in the back, and we've done that intentionally. The C-pillar in the back is actually narrower by 4 inches than the B-pillar. And that's super important so we can bring the cage, tuck it in tighter in the back so that it clears the big puckered radiuses of soft tops. Also on the trail, we want the back of our cage to taper so the back of the truck's not getting hung up on obstacles. When you have a rear C-pillar that's the same size as a B-pillar in the front, not only does your truck look like a chuck wagon, but it actually hangs out and you'll start grabbing stuff on the trail. And the worst thing is to hang your cage when you're moving on the trail. Once you've done that, you're going to take your overhead crossbar. It comes to you 49 inches long, one end is pre-notched, and you're going to go ahead and trim the other side to the spacing that you put your A-pillars, which of course is dependent on the doors you're running. So when you have your distance measurement, go ahead and cut your saddle on the other side for your notch.
So I think what they need to do is notch at a 1/2 inch from there, the blade or whatever it is. See, that should be about 1/2 inch right there.
And then it's going to be a matter of where the crossbar sits, either forward or back. And obviously, if you have a 74 on down, you have wiper motors that are up top on the windshield frame on the inside. They're going to dictate where this bar sits. If it's a 75 or newer, the bar can actually be pushed forward a little bit if you'd like. And you can bring it in on the radius a little bit if you want. It's up to the individual that's installing it. But once that's ready to be put in place, what I recommend doing is tacking one side and do a very light tack on the other side. And the reason for that is that to get your center crossbars in, you're going to need to make this bar move forward to get these in, because once you saddle cut these, it's very difficult to rotate them in. You actually have to have this bar slide forward to get these suckers in. Now these are optional in our kits. When you buy a kit, this is something to add in. I do recommend adding them in.
Dang, 5 inches, 5.5. And then I'll do the same thing over there and there in the back. 21.
And you take your overhead bars now, they're actually extended in length, so that can handle the 8A crossbar going forward or back. And so one end is pre-notched, it's where the saddle is or where the bend is. We pre-notch those for you, and the rear is left extra long. Now, we have a lot of people like to put these in what we consider backwards. They put the bump in the back to give themselves more space in the back for their head. That's fine to do. Just make sure that you're going to clear your hard top.
I'll grab this plate because it's sharp. And that's my center line. That's how you get the center lane. 1.25 here, that means it's going to be 1/2 inch notch. There, my little notches.
Go ahead and saddle notch your pieces. Once you've done one, transfer it to the other one, make a pair, then bring these babies up, slide them in place. It's helpful to have an extra set of hands. If not, you can stack boxes up or something to hold them in place. And then you're going to take this A-pillar, and then you're going to bring it back in, which will trap the saddles, tack your A-pillar. Then these are sitting in here kind of rattly where they can slide back and forth. Get your measurements, tack them in, get your measurements, tack them in, get them centered where you want them. Now you can put these really close together, far apart. A lot of people like to put overhead consoles in up here. You can do whatever you want where these are placed, but just be careful that you're not getting it too close to the driver and the passenger's heads. If you have a dash crossbar, you can add that in at this point. Grab handles can be added at any time. Procedure-wise, probably going and doing your A to B cross supports. And these are these little buggers that are on the side. Now, they do not ship pre-notched. The reason for that is that these are what are considered an out-of-time notch that's going to dictate where this A-pillar is placed on your cage. You're going to have to change that notch to fit. So we can't pre-notch those for you. So it comes for you to notch. Now, these are the things that take probably the most time for people who've never built one of our cages before to notch out to get them to fit and be sitting correctly. But we typically put a little bit longer in the front and a little bit shorter in the back. The reason that there's a little bend to it is because we're trying to give you a little more headroom for the passenger and the driver on the inside, so we have the support go forward and then bend and go up.
So I'll go mark the other one. Right there in the corner. So like that, they're both the same.
You're going to be notching both ends to get it to fit right. Now, I recommend what you do is you work on notching one out, and then you start notching the other side out, and then slowly bring the tubing into the position that you're going to want it to be. Of course, we want to mind our gaps and not have big gaps to fill with welding. Once we have one side done, I recommend before you burn it in, do the other side. Notch the other side out so you can you can kind of twin them up. You can use one as an example for the other. The other trick that you can do is that once you've notched one, let's say you've notched this side and it's absolutely perfect, you can actually take a piece of paper, wrap it around the tube, use your finger, trace it, and then you can cut that, and you just made yourself a template. You could slide on the other side and rotate it around to be able to match what's done over here on the other side. You can do that on both ends. So these grab handles are one of the actually, once you have them in your truck and you have the ability to have this really nice surface that's easy to grab onto to pull yourself in and out of the truck, become really popular. With the way that we've made the profile cage, it just fits naturally in here. It still makes it easy to get in and out. It's not hitting you in the shoulder or anything like that, and it's something that's nice and solid to grab onto when you're getting in and out of the truck.
That's it. But I got them like that. That means I'll notch a little bit more on one side. I mean, more on one side and less on the other one. So probably like 45 and then 60. And I can prove it right now. I'll do it right now.
That's how they come though, right here.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna. I'll show you how to do one. So like that, they know how to do it. We'll test it. That one needs a little bit of grinding, but that's not bad, see? And that would get it right there.
So, and then lastly, we're going to come in on these C to B supports, and the long side is going to go down and the short side is going to go up. And just like doing the A to B supports, the C to B is going to be a couple of offset notches from each other. Now, these are a little bit easier to do because these are just straight notches. You're not really doing a lot of rotation. There's a little rotation on this top one, but it's pretty straightforward to do. But take your time, notch them to fit, get a good fit on one side. I recommend, again, make a paper template, transfer to the other side, but get that one to be the same. Once you have those set, go ahead and do a bit of a measurement up from the base to make sure you're making both sides parallel to each other. And then go ahead and set them in and tack them in. Now, once those are tacked in, your cage is pretty much all tacked together, and you've done all this in your truck. And so prior to pulling out of your vehicle, you're going to want to go in and start burning in some of the welds. Once it's set in the way, this looks great, this is the way I want it. And start putting some heavy welds in to hold the whole cage together. Now, be very careful, as experienced welders know, you need to keep moving around. You can't sit here and just weld one whole area and expect the cage to not want to pull. It's going to start pulling inward on you. So take your time, weld, move, weld, move, weld, move, as experienced welders know to do. And then once you've got it to the point that you can go ahead and finish welding it, a lot of us will go ahead and unbolt the cage, slide it out of the truck, set it on the ground, flip it over, and then we start rolling the cage around to give us the best position for welding, doing all of our final welds, and making sure we can seal everything up and get it completely welded. Once the cage is done, do your treatment to it, paint it the color you want, have it powder coated or whatever you want. I always encourage people to do something other than black if you can. It is a very custom cage. This is what started Metal Tech almost 24 years ago as of right now. We've gone to the point of working with a tubing manufacturer in the East Coast, actually out in Pennsylvania. They actually make the steel for us. It's made to our specifications. It has a 20% elasticity to it, so it has the ability to take a hard shock load. It is stress relieved. It's SRA steel, so it's been stress relieved. It's not just your common 2-inch DOM tubing. The way we build it with the tubes where we have it is how we do it. It's a cage kit. You have the ability to make it you. You can move them around. We have people that do it all the time. Just have fun doing it, and we really appreciate your business, and thank you so much.